Welcome to the CouchScouts Podcast. We provide league-winning analysis, advice, and tools to help you dominate your league and build a dynasty. Scout, draft, win. Here's your host, Matt Cooper.
Hello and welcome to the CouchScouts Podcast, episode 98. Man, I can't believe we are on episode 98. That's a little wild to me, but I'm your host, Matt Jackson. Cooper is still out. He is doing college crew things, so wishing him a night of rest. We're excited to have him back on the podcast. Well, with me, as always, I got my co-host, Matthew Rupert.
How you doing this week, my man?
Well, I didn't draft Bijan Robinson at first overall in a.
You mean Brian Robinson?
Brian Robinson in a fantasy league, so I'm doing better than that.
Poor guy. Poor guy. Happens to the best of us.
Hate to see it. I saw something, though, that was like, friends let him repick. Real friends don't.
Right.
I was like, no, buddy, that's who you picked. That's who you're locked in as. So I hate it for you, but way to blow up your team with one pick. Like,
yeah.
People say, you can't lose a fantasy football league in the first round because you're always getting good players no matter who you take. I think that was the exception to the rule. I think that did lose him the fantasy league.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're excited to be back with you guys tonight on the CouchScouts Podcast. We are continuing a divisional series that we began some time ago. We're almost all the way through this divisional series, and makes sense because we're getting ready to start the NFL season. And I know you, Mr. Rupert, are excited about that, as are the rest of us. But we are continuing this series where we're just breaking down divisions in the NFL, talking about things like offseason questions, players to watch, teams that can make a splash, teams that unfortunately will be left drafting high this offseason. And tonight we move on to, got to say, my favorite division because it contains your Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. That is the NFC East. Excited to talk about the NFC East tonight. If you didn't know which teams that includes, that is the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles, and the Washington Commanders. So let's go ahead and, Rupert, I say we go ahead and just dive head first into what is the NFC East, because I think if any division right now is being talked about, especially in dynasty circles on Twitter, it's the NFC East. And I just want to dive straight on into it because we're gonna go into the most talked about team right now, in the Washington Commanders. So we're gonna begin with some offseason questions, and the buzz in Commanders camp right now is on Bill Krosky-Merritt, an undrafted guy that people got on your waiver wires essentially this year. That's pretty much exploded onto the scene, and I don't know if explode is the right word. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but people are talking about him. He's the offseason waiver wire pickup. Is Bill Krosky-Merritt lightning in the bottle? Have dynasty managers found something here, or should you get out now while you can? I'm going to throw it to you.
My thought is if you drafted him in the 4th round, 5th round, or picked him up on waivers after a draft, you pretty much got what you would want out of a pick like that, where you can now flip him for a second or better. I think we saw in our Discord that someone was able to get 2 seconds for him.
2 seconds.
And I think that's just absolute slam dunk. I don't think it's lightning in a bottle. I don't think this is this year's Bucky Irving. The reason is, watch the tape. When you watch Bucky's tape, you see a dynamic running back that can do a ton of things. When we watch Krosky-Merritt's, he just looks okay. To me, he looks like an NFL. Like he has a spot in the NFL, right? But he just looks like an average backup to me. There's not a lot of explosion there. Decent power and contact balance, but nothing that any team's going to really build their run game around. And on top of that, he's a 7th round pick. He's already 24 years old, and his production profile, we can just go through that real quick. He was in college for 6 seasons, 5 of those 6 seasons, he didn't top 470 yards. He had one season where he went for 1,100. That was it. There's just not a ton of production there. 7th round pick, not a lot of dynamic attributes on tape. And, I can throw this back to you, but we've seen people like freaking out over his preseason highlights. And to me, it looks like any running back in the NFL will be making those plays with those wide open gaps. He's not making guys miss. He's not, creating lanes on his own. To me, he just looks like a solid backup running back.
No, like to me, I've watched every snap that he's taken in the preseason so far, and I think his ceiling is like Brian Robinson Jr., right? Which I mean is a usable flex option maybe sometimes, but like he's the type of player. Let me back this train up a little bit. He's the type of player that you might be able to get some good flex value out of him just based on sheer volume alone. Right. I think a lot of people are freaking out over him because, are they going to get rid of Brian Robinson Jr.? And is he going to be the guy to take a lot of those touches? I would say to that, like, I don't see really much third down usage to him. I mean, I know they still have Austin Eckler on the team. Like, is he going to get the third down work? Yeah. Like,
I did see something today that they said they envision Eckler like playing a big part in their offense.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I watched – and people were freaking out last night, right? Well, it was last night, right? Monday Night Football, where they were playing the Cincinnati Bengals, right? And he had that like 35 or 40-yard run, touchdown run. And like I get on Twitter and like everybody is blowing up over this touchdown run. Rupert, I watched that run 6 or 7 times back to back to back to back to back. And like, what did he do on that run other than follow his blocks and run through a wide open hole? Like you made a great point. Like in all the snaps that I've seen him take so far, like shooting brass is anything that your standard NFL running back can do. Yes, he's got good contact balance. I think that's a plus in his category. He's not an electric runner. Like he's not shifty. He's not breaking people down in the hole. His top end speed is subpar at best. Like he doesn't have much burst or lateral agility to him. Like, I think if you're talking to somebody like, hey, your ceiling is Brian Robinson Jr., like if I can go and be that guy in our Discord that got 2 second-round picks for Bill Crosby Merritt, like that's a huge win for me, and I'm cutting my losses while I can, right? Like, will he get
I wouldn't even call it like cutting your losses, right? It's just playing good value in Dynasty. Like you're capturing and getting a better asset for the future for a guy that you don't see like being a cornerstone for your team.
Yeah, no. I think to answer the question that I posed, no, I don't think this is lightning in a bottle. Does he have a good opportunity? For sure, he's got a good opportunity. He is, we were texting in our group chat today, and Cooper made the point that he is this year's Kamani Vidal, right? A guy that is a subpar running back that lands on a good situation, has a good preseason and offseason, and everybody freaks out, right? When we look closer in the film, which is what we are, right? We're film guys. We watch the film. And I am telling you guys, Rupert and I have both watched the film, and there's nothing there that truly excites me in his film. Like, and if you're already playing the age game, he's 24. He's going into his rookie season 24. He's got a subpar athletic profile. He's got a subpar collegiate production profile. Like those things matter, and I don't think he's the guy that everybody thinks he is. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Like none of us are going to get this right 100% of the time. And I think that's important to note. Like we could 100% be wrong on this, but like watching his film, I don't see the player that everybody has been hyping up all preseason.
100% agreed. And it's not in this division, but a guy that like I have watched preseason tape of, and it's changed my opinion on him was Ollie Gordon.
Yeah.
He looked more like the 2024 Ollie Gordon.
Yeah.
He slimmed down, more explosion. He's able to round the corner. Like that's where like, okay, I can get behind the hype here a little bit. But on the flip side, like he had incredible collegiate production, especially 2 years ago.
Yeah.
His tape was pretty good 2 years ago. Not so good last year. Production was not so good last year. So at least like when there's some preseason hype, there's at least something to back it up there. Whereas with this, I'm just not seeing it. And again, we could be wrong. He could be a coach's dream. He never fumbles, and he just therefore gets 25 carries a game, and he's just able to benefit from a beastly offensive line that's just opening up holes. That could be the case, but from a film perspective, he just doesn't seem like the guy that is.
I don't know why this is coming to my mind, but do you remember a long time ago, like undrafted free agent, or I think he was an undrafted free agent, Arian Foster, right? Yeah. That just like exploded onto the scene. Like when I hear lightning in a bottle, that's the player that I think of, right? Somebody that just blows up in the offseason, preseason, and goes on and has like a fantastic few-year run. Like, I don't think that Bill Crosby married is that guy.
Right. You can see Arian Foster's tape and be like, oh, that guy moves different.
So, well, moving on. Now that we've officially made everybody mad at us, and
I'm sorry, everyone.
See the hate comments in the post.
Oh, can I just repeat this? Please do not go out and pay a second for him.
Yeah,
please don't do it. Probably could be worth a third. Thirds are dart throws anyways. So if you could get him that cheap, do it. Please don't go pay a second.
No, absolutely not. Moving on, we are going to talk my favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles. And
everyone, I'll do my best to make sure he doesn't talk about the Eagles the entire episode.
Yeah. We've got about 20 minutes left that we normally go, and I need to make sure that I don't talk about the Eagles all 20 minutes. But this is the NFC East. I sat back, Rupert, and I watched you guys rave and wax on the Carolina Panthers, so you got to hear me. How this podcast is built.
Very fair.
So, two-part question for you, because I made the show sheet and I can write two questions. Are the Eagles built to repeat as Super Bowl champions? And follow-up, can Saquon Barkley repeat, maybe not his historical season, but can he repeat as the RB1 in fantasy?
Yeah, I do think that they have the roster that can be right back there competing for a Super Bowl again. Not a ton of losses in the offseason. Their team wasn't an old team. They really just have the recipe right there. The GM has just been absolutely knocking it out of the park. So to that first part, I can see them being right back in there. And to Saquon repeating as RB1, absolutely. One of the most talented running backs in the league. They still have a great offensive line, and the injury to Landon Dickerson hurts. There's just no way getting around that. So do I think he repeats as RB1? No, because of that. If the line was completely intact, definitely more of a chance. But historically, it's very hard for running backs to repeat as a RB1 in fantasy.
Yeah, no, obviously, I think they're built to repeat as a Super Bowl champions. We lost a few defensive line guys, lost, Chauncey or CJ Gardner-Johnson again for the second time in 3 years. But we filled that with Andrew Makuba in the draft. So there's some young guys that have to step up this year. I think we're built through the trenches. That's how he always does it. And, our trenches are solid. Jalen Carter is just a beast. Another level. It's ridiculous. Zach Bond, historic season last year. Offensive line, I think you're worried about Landon Dickerson. I think we do have enough guys behind him that I've heard some good things about in camp. I know Jason Kelsey's been at the training camp working with a lot of these guys, so which is exciting to hear that he's still involved in the Eagles organization. But there's some guys behind him that I've heard some really good things about. So the loss is going to be huge, but I think we'll be okay. And that offense, you got Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert gets his.
John Mechie
now, who I hope has a resurgence of what we saw at Alabama. I do wonder, and this is not part of the question, but I just wonder, what else does Jalen Hurts have to do to get respect put on his name, right? I don't understand. Is he the most dynamic passer of the football? No, he's not. But he's good enough, and I would say he's even better than good enough, and he's a winner, and he commands that team. And I don't know. I don't get the whole tush push merchant, and he's a stat padder, and he's not a great quarterback. All the stuff that you're seeing, I
could totally see him, kind of career going the Eli Manning route where, wins a couple Super Bowls, but still never gets the respect of being like a top even 5 QB in the league.
Yeah, it's crazy. Saquon Barkley, I think, can refinish as RB1. I don't think it'll happen. I've been pretty vocal this offseason about really liking Bijan Robinson. At least I did it on podcast. I didn't do it in the draft. I like Bijan Robinson to finish as RB1 this year. That's my prediction. And then, there's just so many guys right in that tier, right? Like you got your Bijan Robinson, you got your Saquon Barkley. If Christian McCaffrey stays healthy all year, like he could finish as RB1 on that offense. Like Devin Achane could finish up there. I don't think he can finish RB1, but he can finish up there. Like there's just a lot of guys in that same realm that it's so hard to finish at that position. Derrick Henry is beating Father Time. So I think it'll be hard. I think he can do it, but I think it's going to be hard for him.
Agreed.
Moving on, the question for the Giants, and I got to be honest with you, Rupert, I had a hard time thinking of a question for the New York Giants because that whole situation just feels like a dumpster fire. But for me, I guess what I landed on is this QB situation, right? They got Jameis Winston, they got Russell Wilson, they got Jackson Dart. Right now, Russell Wilson is named the starter, and I think he's going to keep it for a few weeks. But my question for you is, how early into the season do we see Jackson Dart take over the reins on this team?
I think that depends on how many moonballs that Russell Wilson can connect with Malik Neighbors. He's keeping Malik Neighbors happy.
Does he have any moonballs left?
Yes. I've been seeing it all camp. The moonballs are back, and I think if he can keep Malik Neighbors happy, not turn the ball over, I actually kind of like the Giants this year. I think what they did on the defensive line is just going.
The defensive line is the big plus for them, right? You got Abdul Carter, you got Brian Burns. Like their defensive line's a little nasty.
It's a lot nasty, and I think it can absolutely wreck games. So they don't really need a quarterback that has to carry the team on his back. I think Daboll's a great coach, and he's trying to save his job. So I think I could totally see this just pretty much being like a what Andy Reid did with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes, where pretty much just plays Russ all year, maybe like the last couple games if they get eliminated from the playoffs, then start Dart, or if they already secure their spot and it doesn't mess up seeding, then they can play them. I kind of suspect that Dart may just have basically like a redshirt year.
Yeah, I can flip side of that though, where Daboll has been on the hot seat for so long, and like his time's coming, right? Like you got to start winning games, or they're going to find somebody different, right? I know that the Giants' bye week is week 7. Like, do they play it the first 6 weeks and just see where they're at going into that bye week, and then make a change after that? Like, I could see that being a potential turn in the staff if the record is like abysmal. But also, like, I can 100% agree with you. Like, with their defensive line, I don't think that Russell Wilson has to be special. Like, he doesn't have to be like early version Seahawks Russell Wilson. He just has to distribute the football well and take care of it, right? And I don't think they'll be as bad as some people think they might be, right? But yeah, no, I think that could potentially be a change, but also like I could see the redshirt freshman or redshirt first year anyway. So last question that we have, and I hate that we don't have Cooper on the podcast because he would wax so eloquently about this question, but does George Pickens become a startable asset on your fantasy team this year? And I guess I'll go ahead and start with this one because I am friends with a few Cowboys fans. And the height that you see in preseason right now in their OTAs and their training camps, George Pickens is doing what George Pickens does, right? He's catching those jump balls. He's being a contested catch guy, which is what we all raved about him about coming in to the league, and kind of never really saw the full potential of that But we're seeing it in training camp. Startable is such a funny question, right? Like, will he be somebody that you can start confidently week in and week out? I don't think that he will be. Will he be somebody that you could start during a bye week or on your flex roster and feel decent about it? I think Dak Prescott, and I'm going to talk about this a little later, right? Dak Prescott is way undervalued. I think when he's healthy and he's playing, he's a really good fantasy quarterback, and he really supports wide receivers. I think he could be a good flex option. I just don't know if the high end is there. And I don't even know if there's enough upside for me to feel comfortable taking him in leagues right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has solid upside, but totally agree. I think he's just a flex option. Uh, Boom or bust. I don't think he's going to be consistently putting up numbers. And like he's a guy, like if I have him on my roster, I'm trying to, after like a week where he explodes, try and get a little bit more stable asset for your team. I agree. I don't see much as a long-term stable fantasy asset.
For sure. Well, now that we've spent 20 minutes talking about offseason questions, we want to dive into some players that we're watching. But before I do that, I want to tell you guys about CouchScouts.com. We are building such an awesome community over here at Couch Scouts, and it's been really cool to see so many people in the Discord, so many people being a part of the family, and that's what we call it. And we would love for you guys to be a part of that family. We have packages right now that include things like our rookie guide. They include one-on-one consultations. They include some other things that are going to come down the pipeline that we can't tell you about right now, but we're honestly pretty super excited about. There's a merch store. There's a free Discord that I mentioned. Lots of things to get in part of and just to talk fantasy football with a bunch of degenerates out there. We would love for you guys to join and be a part of that. You can join as little as a cup of coffee every month, $5 a month, or you can save 15% by bundling annually. We would love to see you guys over there. Make sure you guys check out CouchScouts.com. Well, we're going to go ahead and move into players we are watching this upcoming season. And I'm going to go ahead and take this first one since I kind of led into it a little bit. But the first player that I'm watching right now is Dak Prescott. I've talked about this before. Dak Prescott to me is just such an undervalued dynasty asset. Like, I know he's coming off the injury and he's got a little bit of an injury history there. And that worries some people. But right now he's going at QB 21. Like, you're talking like the back end of a QB 2 in fantasy football drafts right now. Like, he currently is not only QB 22, but he is going in the 7th round of startup drafts, around the same range as like Colston Loveland, Michael Penix Jr., Jared Goff, Quinshawn Judkins, Zay Flowers. Like, I think that is such wildly undervalued for Dak Prescott. And I'm not going to beat the horse too much because I've talked about this on this podcast before. But for somebody that can finish as a really nice QB1 and you're getting him at QB3 prices almost, like, I'm excited, not as an Eagles fan because I hate the Cowboys, but I'm excited as a fantasy manager who has several Dak Prescott shares who I think can come in and be that QB1. And you could potentially sell high or make a deep playoff push because you bought super low on somebody that shouldn't be going that low.
Totally agree. The market is overcorrected on Dak, in my opinion. They're acting like he's in his mid-30s. He's not that old. There's still a lot of years left. Agree that, there's a bit of an injury history there, but that to me, that doesn't justify the price. Totally agree that he's a guy that's being way too undervalued. Speaking of undervalued, let's go to overvalued maybe. Jaden Daniels is a guy I'm watching this year. And one of the reasons is what is happening in his wide receiver room. They're not paying his top wideout. Probably going to lose his favorite target to, throw balls deep down the field to Terry McLaurin. And I feel like we've seen it a lot over the last 10 years or so where a quarterback has a really great rookie season, it seems like they had that sophomore slump after defensive coordinators have a whole offseason to kind of digest their film and, what they struggle against. We saw it just most recently last year with CJ Stroud. I'm going to be watching and see if, we see a kind of sophomore slump from Daniels, and maybe there could be a potential buy opportunity. What does that do for the rest of the weapons on that team? I'll be watching very closely. To be very clear, we love Daniels and his talent, just like we love Stroud and his talent. But it seems like it's happened more and more over the years. So I'm very interested to watch his second season.
For sure. He's somebody that I don't want to see have a sophomore slump.
I don't want to see it.
He's
to be very clear.
He's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
And yes, it was against the Bengals, and the Bengals secondary is just, or defense as a whole is just so atrocious. Like, I don't know, why are you not paying Trey Henderson? Makes no sense. But he looked pretty good in that first drive against the Bengals on Monday. So I'm hoping it's just wheels up for him. The second guy that I am interested to watch, no surprise here, but I'm going to list some different reasons that I'm interested in watching him. And that's Cam Scatibo from the New York Giants. Early in the preseason or early in off-season training camps, there were videos coming out about him in practice, and he just looked like everything that we thought he was, right? And it was so, like, vindicating, like, right, when you watch something and you're like, hey, we were maybe right about this guy, and, like, it feels good, right? Like, I remember you were sending us videos. I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me because I knew he could do that.
Yeah.
But then he's been dealing with a hamstring injury the last few weeks. It's kept him out of most of the preseason, or all the preseason, the last 2 games, and a lot of part of the offseason as well. He just got cleared today to return to practice. So he's somebody that I definitely think is going to make the roster. Like, I'm not worried about that one bit. But does he start the season on injured reserve? Does he miss some time? Is that hamstring injury going to linger? Like, he was somebody that I was super excited to watch coming into the season because I thought he could take over that starting job and run away with it, right? With this injury, is he going to run away with it, or is there going to be this slow start, right, where people are like, oh, well, maybe he wasn't the guy that we thought he was, and that might even present an interesting buy window for him if his price dips down low, right? So there's so many things going on in this situation that just makes me intrigued to watch it.
100% agreed. Too often it seems like these off-season and camp hamstring injuries just linger the whole year, and I'm really praying that's not the case. I really want to see everything that we thought Cam to be on the field this year.
Yeah. So moving on, we'll go with your last one. Who else are you watching this offseason?
I'll be watching very closely on Ben Sinnott. He's the guy that we liked his tape coming out, and it seems like he's following the exact same Trey McBride career arc where he has to sit behind Zach Ertz for a little while before getting his opportunity to come out on the scene. Every little bit I've seen of him, I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like he looked in college. So he's a guy that we just like the tape, and he's just going to need to get the opportunity eventually. And Zach Ertz is a great player, so it's easy to see why he's having to play behind him. But I hope he gets a little bit more of a chance to shine this year. And, if they are missing their best wideout, do we see more 2 tight end sets with them, maybe deploying them out, in the slot? Very interested to see how his year goes.
I think that's a good pick just because, I mean, Zach Ertz is getting up there in age. Even though he's getting up there in age, though, like, he looked great last season, right? Like, he was somebody that you could start pretty confidently, especially in the end of the season. So, like, if Zach Ertz can do that in the later stages of his career, like, what can Ben Sinnott do if he's the guy that we thought he was? So I think that's an interesting guy to watch for sure. we're going to move on to teams that we envision that are going to surprise people the most. And these next two questions, Rupert, I had such a hard time picking teams, right? Because I feel like are you like me, right? Where like I felt like you have two teams that are really good, and then you have two teams that are not that good, right?
Yeah.
And like I wouldn't necessarily say either like any of these teams are going to surprise people or any of these teams are going to disappoint because they kind of at this point feel like they are what they are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I will say that I did not pick this. We're going to talk about teams that were going to surprise people. I did not pick the Philadelphia Eagles for either of these questions because
I'm really proud of you.
It was hard. I tried really hard. So I appreciate the shout out. I didn't pick them for either of these questions because I think like they're just good and that's not going to surprise people. And I don't think they're going to be bad. And that's not going to disappoint people. They're just going to be a deep run playoff team, and that's how it is. The team that I did pick to surprise people, though, and I don't know how surprising it is. I don't think it's that surprising, but I did pick the Washington Commanders. Look, there has not been an NFC East team to repeat as NFC East champions in a long time. It just doesn't happen. There's always a new champion each and every year. And I can see easily a situation where the Washington Commanders are that team, right? Like they're already on the up and up. They're a team that historically gives the Eagles fits, like year in and year out. They just always play us so solid. Jaden Daniels is everything that we thought he was going to be and more coming into the league. He's the next superstar franchise quarterback. And, minus some of the wide receiver issues and, are they keeping Terry McLaurin? Is he out? Like, what's going on there? I do think their defense is good. I think their offense is going to be dynamic. I wouldn't be shocked. Let me say this. I wouldn't be shocked if they somehow made it into the Super Bowl this year. And maybe that's why I'm saying they're going to surprise people because I don't think anybody's like picking them right yet to be a Super Bowl team, but it wouldn't surprise me at the same time.
Interesting. I actually went a different direction, and I went with the Giants to surprise people and not be as bad as people were expecting them to be. And I alluded to it earlier, but the reason why, and pretty much the whole reason why, is because of that defensive line. It's just so incredibly nasty. I haven't seen a defensive line that it's very reminiscent of the one that helped them win some Super Bowls with that three-headed monster pass rush with Strahan, OCU Manura, and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the other guy. Well, they pretty much have replaced that. They got Kayvon Thibodeau, who had 11.5 sacks 2 years ago. His number 5 overall pick, I believe, if I remember right.
Yeah.
They got Dexter Lawrence, just a monster at nose tackle to occupy blocks. Then, they traded for Brian Burns last year, another guy that's perennial 10-sack guy. And then what they do in the draft this year, they go get one of the best talented pass rushers I've seen in a long time in Abdul Carter. It's very reminiscent of, of Von Miller, in my opinion, just the way he's able to explode and dip under the left tackles, fake outside, spin inside. I just think that they're just going to wreck offensive game plans. Like, even though they may not have like the most talented secondary, like quarterbacks are only going to have like 2 seconds to get the reads off and make a play there. So I'm very excited to kind of see that defensive line play out and see if they can win some more games this year than a lot of people expect.
Good teams built at the trenches, right? And that's what they're doing. The reason I didn't pick them is because I could see them being a 7 or 8 win team. And to me, like if they do around that, that's not really that surprising because that's what I think they're going to be, right? But I could see a lot of people not thinking that. So interesting call out there. We'll move to teams that will leave us the most disappointed. And I took the easy answer, Rupert, but I had to take it because as an Eagles fan, I will never miss an opportunity to poo-poo on the Cowboys. So that's part of why we're doing this podcast tonight is so that I can do that. But look, every year it's the same old thing, and I love it, right? It's the same old thing of this is our year, right? This is our year, and we're going to be Super Bowl champions. And, it just never happens. Like, historically speaking, the last 30 years, they always get to the playoffs and then fall apart in just some dramatic fashion. And I just love seeing it. Like, it makes my heart so happy to watch it happen year in and year out. I mean, I'm seeing all these off-season videos of them just like playing games and like just acting a fool during training camp, which, typical Cowboys. But I think everybody was like, yep, they're such a loaded roster. They're going to come in and be a deep playoff team. And, you still got the Cowboys fans going, this is our year. And it never is. And I just can't wait to see, Rupert, what dramatic fashion the Cowboys implode this year. Like, that's why I watch NFL football. So they're the team that's going to leave the people the most disappointed.
My prediction is George Pickens is going to fight some of his teammates on the sidelines. But, yeah, we'll see. Again, I just want to applaud you as an Eagles fan for not spending the entire 30 minutes poo-pooing on the Cowboys. Proud of you. And I agree. That was just way too easy of an answer. So
we have Cowboys fans in the Discord, and I still want them to like me.
Yeah. I'll go with a little bit harder answer, and I'm going with the Commanders, disappointing people, because I do think people view them as being right back there in the playoffs. But I could totally see a path where, like we talked about earlier, Jaden Daniels could potentially have a sophomore slump. How does that make the team look? Might be losing his favorite target. And I think a lot of people forget that they have one of the oldest rosters, if not the oldest roster in the league. Especially on the defensive side, like they got Bobby Wagner at 35 as their starting middle linebacker, Von Miller at 36 as another starting.
I thought Bobby Wagner was like 47. I don't know how long he was playing in the league, but it felt like a long time.
Yeah, I think the average age of their defense is over 30 years old. So, to me, I could totally see a path where, they lose just enough of a step, Daniels has a little bit of a slump. Then, they're like a 5 or 6 win team again. I hope this doesn't happen. I hope Jaden Daniels just, continues ascending and carrying that team. But I could totally see a way where the Commanders end up being a disappointing team this year.
As long as you're not picking the Eagles to be a disappointing team, I'll accept it. Cooper's in the show telling me that I'm doing my best Stephen A. impression, and those are fighting words, Cooper. So we're gonna have a chat after this podcast. I'm not Stephen A. Smith. But that about does us for our podcast tonight. Thank you guys for joining us as we talked the NFC East. It was a fun time. We will be back next week finishing up our divisional preview series. So we are getting close to the start of the NFL season, and I hope you guys are excited as we are. We're here. We'll be here all season to talk all of the off season or all the in season stuff, things that you need to know, trades you need to make to win your leagues. We're excited for the season to start. We'll be back with you guys next week as we finish this divisional series. Hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a 5-star review on all the platforms that you listen to. It would greatly help us out. It's how people find the show. And if you do that and send Cooper a screenshot of your review, you can get entered to win some merch that we're going to give away on our 100th podcast episode, which is right around the corner. So, guys, make sure you do that, and we will catch you guys next week.